Hey, my name is Tatiana. I'm a business coach and a mentor for women wanting to start their own businesses. I love helping you get out of your own way, and we are currently at the end of this little mini series I've been doing about going live. Going live is one of my favorite parts of my business, if I'm honest. It's a great way to connect with my customers, my audience, and it has really helped me to really grow a community that I have craved online of people that just are like-minded. And so I'm excited to be talking about this because I think it can be a great way, if you already haven't incorporated it into your business strategy, to really try this out. You know, we are in a time where things are accessible to us and it's at our fingertips to go ahead and give something a try. And if it's not for you, great. But if this is something you've even thought about briefly, or if you've been a little bit nervous about it, this has been the series for you. And so make sure you go check out the other two videos. I touched a bit on just kind of like the mindset that can play into going live. I've touched on tools and equipment, software, and all the things. And so today I wanted to round it out and really help you to identify, like, well, what do I even talk about on these lives? How can I stay consistent with it? And so one of the points that I touched on in the first part of this was that you want to have a consistent time where you show up. I think once a week is great, but if you're able to do even more than that, fine. I really would maybe say bi-weekly, like, every other week would probably be the least amount I would go, because you want to stay top of mind. You want people to have something to come back to. And if it's too far spread out, it can be hard for people to remember. And the point is, we want this to grow over time. We want it to continue to get engagement. We want it to not only help the people that are on the live, but to help to grow your business as well. And so these lives can have a lot of different things that go on as part of it. And so I'm going to be talking all about that. And I wanted to just share with you too, just as a quick little intersection before we get into this, that I do have a membership. It's called the Inspire Blueprint Membership, and it is a group of like-minded women that have come together. Within this group, we talk together, we connect, we share wins, struggles, we answer questions. We have monthly trainings as well as calls where we connect and hold each other accountable. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because a lot of times now when I'm doing these series, I'm always going to do a deeper dive into really like a specific strategy with those within the membership. And so at any time, if you are ever interested in joining the membership, even if it is not in a full like open enrollment period, there's going to be a link down below in the description for you to check out. You can learn more about the membership. So I wanted to just mention that as well, because there's always a chance for you to join the membership when we are not in an open enrollment. And this is definitely going to be a topic I'm going to be diving deep into with the community as well. But I wanted to still share as much as I can with you all here on this channel. So let's get into it. So part 3. Like I was saying, we want to be consistent as possible. And so once you've decided on what that day and time is for you that you want to be showing up every week or whatever it may be, it's like, okay, well, now what do I talk about? So one of the biggest things I always tell clients is that you want to have an idea of what your VSPs are. What I call them is your value selling points, your story. What is the thing that is connecting you and your message to your audience? And so whatever that looks like, some people call them content pillars, topics that you want to talk about. These are the things that you can pull from when you are trying to plan out your content, whether it's for the week, multiple weeks in advance, so you know what you're doing. And so always having those pillars, those topics, those points to fall back on is very, very important. And so if you don't already, make sure that you have those created for yourself. I say 3 to 5 is a comfortable amount, and that really allows for you to have a little variety so that you're not feeling like you're always talking about the exact same thing all the time. For the Inspire Blueprint, for example, I talk a lot about goal setting, of course, entrepreneurship, just growth, self-love. All of those different things are what you can find here. And then I also like to have some just lifestyle aspects and wellness as well that get splashed in. And so it keeps it very interesting over here. Lots of things to talk about under that umbrella. And I also love to have topics that are kind of like subtopics in a way that I'm able to just pull from the questions I get, the engagement of comments that people say, the videos that do really well, and that allows me to see like, okay, this is what I want to dig a little bit deeper on. This is one I talk a little bit more about. Maybe I'll turn this into a series because the one video did well. So it's kind of like a twofold of how you can figure out what those pillars are going to be for you. So once you decide on that, I am such a big theme person. It's really hard for me to just kind of scatter my thoughts and from week to week talk about different things. I have done it in the past, but I do find that when I do kind of like mini series and different things, like that's where my mind works the best. And so if you're like me, pick one of those topics. So let's just say if it's goal setting and really picking like a subtopic of goal setting, maybe it is goal setting in the new year or quarterly planning or goal setting for wellness, whatever it may look like for your business and what makes sense for your audience, deciding what that is and then taking that and breaking it down into a couple of talking points for yourself. So anytime I go live, I always have at least 3 to 5 talking points. 3 to 5 is kind of like my comfortable number, but sometimes I'll have more, like especially if I have an acronym I'm doing or if there's something I really want to dive in and there's maybe like 7 points or something like that, that's fine. But you want to have your talking points in advance, and you don't have to have it like a full video script. At least I don't like to have it that way, because what I find is that I tend to get almost too in my head and then I'm like, oh, I missed that, and you know, all of those things. So I like to just have a couple bullet points, and then I always like to throw in anything that I absolutely don't want to forget, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. So those talking points are going to be things to just really break down the overall theme or the topic of that live. And so again, let's say if we're talking about goal setting and wellness, and maybe for this particular live, maybe let's say it's a live series that you're going to do, and maybe this first one we're talking about goal setting in wellness, but we're going to break it down even more. And this particular live, we're going to talk about the mindset around that. Like, what are some of the things that stops you from doing it in the first place? And so what are 3 to 5 things that might fit in there? It might be like, maybe you failed in the past. Maybe, you know, you don't have anyone that supports you, or you wish you had friends to do these wellness goals with. Maybe you just don't feel like you're capable of doing it for some reason. And, you know, maybe you're too busy. Like, maybe these are some of the different things that might stop someone from actually setting goals for their wellness, right? And so those are going to be the different things that you could talk about within the live. And then if there's one of those topics that you're like, ooh, I could even go further, then maybe you know that that would be something you could do for a future live. Or if someone asks a really good question and you can't really go all the way in like you want to, then that could be a future topic as well. So it's really good to have that already planned out, so you're not just kind of getting on like, okay, y'all, I think we're going to be talking about this today, which sometimes that's fun too. Sometimes it's fun to just get on, not really have a topic. I love to just get on sometimes and just do Q&A or just chat, catch up, and just kind of let it flow. But typically I do like to have a plan that I'm following for myself. I find myself to be more comfortable that way when I'm on live. And also, just as a pro tip, keep in mind the audience that's watching after. Sometimes it can be very easy to get caught up in those people that are on live, which is important. You know, we're interacting, we're engaging, but remember that this is going to still be living long after the live is over. In fact, the life of the live itself is such a small percentage of how long it lives beyond and how much people can access it. So remember that. And so at the beginning of my lives, I always love to just start with an introduction straight up, instead of like kind of getting on and I'm like just sitting there like, okay, it's waiting for somebody to get on. You know, I don't really like to do that. I like to just get straight on like it's a presentation, like people are already on. I love to say, hey, replay fam, or hey, what's up? Welcome to this live. My name is, this is what I do. Today we're going to be talking about, I do all of that stuff so that when someone is scrolling and they're trying to decide if they want to watch it, I'm already getting them in so they know what it's about, you know, versus if I'm just kind of sitting there. And that's just something to keep in mind. Same with when I'm doing it, I like to try my best. This is not always the case. I'm not perfect with it, but try to organize it in a way to where maybe you go through a lot of your talking points first, you pause and answer questions, read comments, and then go through your talking points again, pause, answer questions, read comments. I like to even read the questions and things at the end, and maybe I might just kind of splash in a couple of the comments. This will keep it engaging for the people after, because, you know, if you're on and, you know, like you're laughing at something, you're kind of like, oh, that's silly, but then you don't say it. The person that's on the replay, they can't see the comments, you know? And so just try to keep them in the back of your head. Like, you want to engage with everyone on, but I always like to, I'll read what I'm laughing at, or I will say the person's name that I'm referring to. So then that way, if someone gets on, especially like YouTube Live, you can go back and see the comments on there, but on Instagram, you can't. And so you want to just kind of keep in mind with your audience of like what the laughter is about or what you're referring to. Someone asks a question, don't just start answering the question without reading it. This will really help the experience of the replay watcher, and I think that that's very important. So I always love to shout out the replay fam. I love to, you know, ask them questions as well, get them engaged, and I think it just overall it helps everyone's experience. And so then that way it's kind of a mesh of people that aren't there yet but we'll see it later, and then those that are on. And then for those that are on, I always would say, just as another point, is to throw in questions and ways for them to engage throughout. So within those talking points that you have, come up with a couple of questions that fit them, so that your audience can be kind of engaging in the comments with you as you're going on. This is what is really going to make the live more fruitful. It can feel intimidating even to this day with me going live for so many years, is when I'm on and there's just like no one saying anything, you know, and like all you're seeing is just like the screen, nothing's really changing, there's no new comments. And so I always love to use it as an opportunity to engage the audience, even if it's just simply like drop an emoji if you feel like this, or let me know this, or do you agree with this? Just, you know, something quick. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's not, but that way it keeps the conversation flowing. It keeps people engaged and interested in what you're talking about. And it's like, hey, you know, again, like we're having a conversation, engage. And so I think it's important to have that in place as well. And that will allow for you to have a way to keep going, you know, because if you're on there, you're not really talking to anybody, you're just kind of going through your points and not really trying to interact. You might be on there for 5 or 10 minutes and just get off, and it's like you kind of missed some of the magic that is going live. So I did want to touch on that, but let's just say if for some reason there isn't someone on, that's okay too. You know, like if maybe there's 0 people on or whatever the case is. One of the really good tips I got from my business coach is that she said, if you are like really concerned about the number of people that are on, to put a little sticky note that covers the number of people that are on there, because sometimes that number can like throw you off your mindset completely. Like you might be feeling really confident and all of a sudden it goes from like 5 people are on to 2 people. You're like, oh, well, why did they leave, right? And people leave for so many reasons. Like some people might leave because it might just not be appealing to them, or they may not be resonating with it. But I feel like a lot of times if someone is clicking on it, they may or may not have known who you were, and life happens. You know, somebody calls them and they have to answer the call, their kids are doing something and they gotta go, their phone dies. Like there's so many other things that could be happening besides just like your live is not interesting and they don't care about what you have to say. But sometimes we can instantly go there, right? And so just keep that in mind, that people are going to come and go, come in and out of the live, and it's nothing personal to you. But I loved that sticky note idea, and that was something I did a couple of times in the beginning as well. Now it's kind of interesting. I like to see how many people get on, especially like as the lives grow over time. And it helps me too to understand like what times of day work as well. I'm kind of like giving y'all just some things, my mind, I'm kind of like just as I'm thinking of things, but hopefully this stuff is helpful because I like to just share what comes to mind. And I think that that's a big thing too. Like when you're on, experiment with different times. And I didn't talk about this too much when I was saying picking your date and time, but if you're noticing like you're going live and you're not really getting a lot of engagement, switch it up and go live at a different time or a different day and see if that works better for you. And sometimes one of the main ways to know that is to see the number when you're on, because once you get off and it's now a replay, it's really hard to know how many people were actually on live with you. It'll show you like how many people came and went, but for you to kind of consistently know how many people were on, you kind of need to be on and looking at it. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. But it'll help you to know like, okay, a lot more people were on when I was live at this time on this day versus when I did it this morning or this evening. It helps. So that's just like a little bit of market research that will help you too, to try to get as many people on as possible. And the last part of this, my last point, is that you want to have a call to action in place. So I think this applies to anything we do, whether it is a long form video, short form video, a post, an email, whatever type of content you're creating, I think it's important to have a call to action. And so this does not mean like buy something. That may be the call to action. Maybe you're having a sale, maybe you're launching something, maybe it's a pre-order. That could definitely be the case, but maybe it could just be something as simple as subscribe, follow the page, join the email list, download this thing that here's the points I talked about, and now you can download it and get on the email list and get put into a funnel or whatever it may be. Have a call to action in place on these lives so that people can have something to do to connect with you further. I think that that's a great way, especially if people are on, they're resonating, you're getting some really good feedback. Having that is important. And I would say 9 times out of 10 on a video, I'm going to have a call to action. Every now and then I might get on and I don't really have anything. But even with that, I'll say like, I'll refer to like my videos that I've recorded. So that's getting people to want to connect and watch more of my videos. Or I'll mention my email list and that will make people want to get interested. And so I think regardless, even if it's kind of like a call to action that is not necessarily direct, it's just knowing that you have something outside of just this live will have people want to connect with you outside of that. And it's important. It's very important. So definitely have a call to action. And that can also help you to decide the topic in itself too. So like if for example, when I was going live for my planners, I had live topics that I could talk about. I could talk about goal setting for your business, quarterly planning for your business. I could do a live flip through of my planner. I could do an unboxing of my planner. I could get on and do a Q&A about the planner. Like your product can have so many different lives. You get on and talk about the materials that you use, the process of how you create it. Talk about your pre-order and how it's going to work, what's going to be expected for launch day. Like there's so much content when it comes to physical products. The sky is really the limit, honestly, and it's a great chance to connect and continue to keep it top of mind. So just as a last tip, kind of like a bonus tip, if you made it to the end, if you are within a launch, I think taking advantage of going live is wonderful. Even if you go live every day during launch week or the week before your launch or more often than you typically would, going live is a wonderful way to connect with people, promote new things that you're working on, that you have coming out. It's absolutely a great way to do it. I've done it in the past. I've definitely seen the success from it. And what it will do is it creates connection. It shows that you are consistent. You're staying top of mind, and you will see the results of that. I have definitely, after I've gotten off of lives, people have signed up for things with me, whether it's a kickoff call to see if they want to work with me further, if they sign up for a course, if they join my membership, whatever it may be. Lives are definitely a good benefit for everyone involved because it allows for this relationship to build. And so I'm sure you've heard of the thing where they say that sometimes it takes 7 interactions for people to finally decide whether or not they want to move forward with you, work with your business, or just even know like, oh, this is a brand I'm interested in. And so the more you show up and you stay consistent, going live is just one more of those ways for you to do that and connect and continue to show up. And so I think it's just important. It's something you should definitely have in your strategy. I hope that you have enjoyed this little 3-part series. If you can't tell, I'm super passionate about going live, and if you have a question about it, definitely feel free to leave it in the comments. Again, make sure you click on that little link down below if you're interested in learning more about the membership and how you can join kind of like secretly, but not really so secret. Check that out down below as well, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.